Hey guys, welcome back. So this is relatively big news for the Sanders camp, and that is the fact that the Morning Consult has been one of the more bullish polling outlets on Joe Biden over this past year throughout the run-up and build-up to the 2020 Democratic primary season. And this is actually the first result that we're getting from the Morning Consult throughout this period of time over the past year, where Bernie Sanders actually has surpassed him in the most recent results, where he's in first place, albeit very competitive, certainly at the top with Joe Biden, where Sanders at 25% and Joe Biden's at 24% following the Iowa caucus. And we can see how things have been trending towards Sanders over the past few days, where he picks up 3 points. Joe Biden takes a 5 percentage point step back. And then you have Michael Bloomberg there in third place at 15. Pete Buttigieg gets a boost out of Iowa, where he's up to 12%. Elizabeth Warren takes a little bit of a step back, where she's at 11%. And then you have Yang at 5, Klobuchar and Steyer each at 3 percentage points, respectively. But again, the fact that this particular polling resource has been so bullish on the former vice president, he has had a considerable gap, usually double digits, over his closest competitor. And that has completely shrunk to now where you essentially get a statistical tie at the top, and Bernie Sanders edging it out at 25% compared to Joe Biden's 24%. And I've been saying this following the Iowa caucus, that it's actually a really good thing for Bernie Sanders that Pete Buttigieg ended up surprising and having a bit more success than what people were expecting in Iowa, because since Buttigieg occupies the same centrist type lane as Joe Biden, he was likely to get a boost from that, and that would directly take away from somebody like Joe Biden. We're seeing that with Biden losing 5 percentage points in this instance, while Pete Buttigieg gains 5 points. And with the centrist kind of siphoning off support from Biden with Bloomberg and Pete Buttigieg now in third and fourth place, respectively, that opens up a pretty clear path in lane for Bernie Sanders to win the most delegates by the time we get to the convention in June. So some really interesting numbers there out of the Morning Consult, and also some other data that they've been pulling here. So they asked Democratic primary voters whether the result in the Iowa caucus made them more or less likely to vote for these different options, and Bernie Sanders gets the biggest boost with this particular statistic, with a combined 52% of people say they're either much more likely or somewhat more likely to vote for him going forward. And actually, this number is still reasonably strong for Joe Biden, where it's at 48%, and then behind him you have Michael Bloomberg at 41%, along with Elizabeth Warren there at about the same number, 41 percentage points, whereas Pete Buttigieg gets a boost in his numbers, but he's at 38% of people who are more likely to vote for him, where that number isn't as good. Candidates that are still polling better than him in terms of those national numbers, and you can see how it goes down from there. But I quickly wanted just to put this video together, given it shows you how important even just one result like the Iowa caucus can be in shaping that national narrative. People are starting to pay a bit more attention to this process, where that potentially hasn't been as much the case leading up over the past year going into the primary season, where now, again, more people are paying attention. They're seeing that Bernie Sanders is having success. They're seeing Pete Buttigieg is surprising. They get the boost, whereas Joe Biden is viewed in a weaker sense with that very poor fourth place finish. And it's unfortunate also for Elizabeth Warren, because she actually did decently well in Iowa, but there's been no narrative more or less surrounding her. And if you're not getting covered to a significant extent, then that also can potentially hurt you, which it has done for Elizabeth Warren in that instance. So that's going to wrap this one up, guys. Appreciate you stopping by again for this one. And we don't know if we're ever going to get these final 100% results out of Iowa. It could be even until next week where things aren't finalized, and maybe it ends up being a situation where New Hampshire ends up being the first final results that we end up getting in terms of how many pledged delegates each of these candidates end up picking up in these early states. So we'll see how that plays out over the coming days. I appreciate you stopping by. Consider subscribing, and I hope to see you back here for my next video.